What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stochastic here on the OddsShopper channel, coming to you with another edition of NFL Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. We're talking Brazil. We're talking Friday football. It's Green Bay. It's Philly. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. Goes a long way for me on this video. Goes a long way for you. That way you become apprised whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. I'm obviously going to be doing the night before videos here. It's taking over for MLB Lindy's. We'll still have one more MLB Lindy's coming to you on Friday, but don't worry, we got the marketplace. If you guys want to get my MLB plays day in, day out, and yeah, I'm going to be posting 7 days a week because I'll have the bandwidth to be able to do that with just NFL that I'll be focusing on for Lindy's until the NBA starts back up. Sign up for that marketplace down below. Promo code Lindy50. Yes, Lindy50. That'll get you everything. That'll be my NFL plays. That'll be my MLB plays as well as the National Basketball Association once that starts back up in just over a month. Wild to think we have gotten out of the dog days of summer and we are heading into the best time for sports of the entire year, besides maybe April. I love myself the Final Four. I love myself the Masters, always simultaneously going on. Going to be really fun stuff for that, but that is a long way away. And hey, NFL just got underway Thursday. Hopefully these plays end up panning out for us. The game's about to start in a little bit here, but I'm going to be breaking down everything for Friday, talking about Green Bay and Philly, my outlook for them for the season, and of course, giving you a lean, like, and a lock. Now, 2 likes yet again, same as the last video, so maybe that's going to be a theme going forward, but it's on the same player this time, so we'll at least break the ins and outs of that. But producer Jacob, without further ado, second time we're going to break down the showdown before the Week 1 massive Sunday slate. Let's get to the picks. We are heading down to Brazil. Going to be fun. And obviously, I can't use the accent because I suck at accents. So there you go. We got Green Bay. We got Philadelphia. And I'm really excited for this one specifically. I think I'm a lot higher on most people than the Eagles. I do have a 10.5 ticket that I ended up on the wins total on the over for Philly that I added a little bit later. Talked to my buddy Brad Thomas on a separate show, and you should be following him, Lord BLT, over on Twitter. But he kind of talked me into this one. They do have an easier schedule if they can get off to a good start, because obviously the tail end of last season, Tampa Bay, it was an abomination. Nick Sirianni's team just fell by the wayside, but what an upgrade of an offensive coordinator they are looking at in Kellen Moore, most notably Boise State quarterback, then most notably offensive coordinator forever there in Dallas. So Kellen Moore being added to this coaching tree, I mean, ridiculous stuff that we could be looking at for this offense. A.J. Brown, people know him. Devonta Smith, I loved him at Alabama, loved him in the pros. And Dallas Goedert, South Dakota State legend Dallas Goedert. My home state is very, very proud. But as I look at the board for tomorrow's game, there are a couple of leans that I'm going towards this Philadelphia side, and we'll get to the Green Bay side here when we get to the like section. But one thing I'm looking and constantly thinking about is what is the rushing profile of Jalen Hurts alongside Mr. Saquon Barkley. Seems like a pretty noticeable addition. Now, you do lose Kelsey there in the middle, Jason Kelsey in the middle of that offensive line, center, going to be a Hall of Famer. The New Heights podcast, going to different places constantly. Also, the Swifties love him, so that's cool. But anyway, we are looking at one of the best, if not the best, offensive line in the entire National Football League. It's basically Detroit and Philly, 1, 2, in any order that you want to put them. I absolutely go across this offensive line, and I think that there's not a whole lot of stopping this running game if they decide to utilize Hurts in that fashion, with Mailata, one of the best left tackles that we've seen in a long time, and then Lane Johnson on the right side of that line. Just a ridiculous tandem that they have on the corners. Jurgens in the middle. We'll see how he ends up ascending. Obviously, he's most known from Nebraska back in the day. A couple of years ago, yeah, he's one of the most noticeable things come out of Nebraska. Now, they've got a quarterback. That's wild times to see. The Cornhuskers were like everybody from my high school went to college, but I went to Iowa State because I'm smart like that. Let's move ourselves into the plays, though. Jalen Hurts is at 35.5 rushing yards, and this just comes down to I don't know what Kellen Moore does with a true rushing quarterback, and that's what I think Jalen Hurts is. Does he have the ability to throw? Of course he does. Obviously, he's been one of the most fantasy-relevant quarterbacks in forever. I mean, the guy is absurd. Him, Lamar Jackson, they're just unbelievable in terms of their separation. We'll see Daniels do a little bit of that, too. We'll talk about that on Sunday, but I think this is just something that I'm interested in. I'm actually thinking that I'm more interested in like 50 plus rushing yards, where hey, if they unleash him against Green Bay, who has one of the best defensive fronts in all of football, and the secondary is a little porous, that's kind of what I'm worried about, is that they do get after it. They did sign McKinney there in the offseason. They do have some very noticeable pieces in Jair Alexander, one of the best shadow corners that we've seen in football. Him and Justin Jefferson, every time I watch it, it's wild West football. But anywho, that's something I'm thinking about betting. Haven't pulled the trigger purely because I think the numbers, it's a little inflated for some of the unknowns. And Saquon Barkley, maybe they are trying to get away from some of the tush-push stuff. I don't think so. I really don't. But I don't know if at 35.5 I'm willing to pull the trigger on this. Maybe alternate lines, because if it goes, it's really going to go for Jalen Hurts. Alrighty, y'all, before we get over to the like section and start talking you through all the plays, this is what we have going on. Use code KICKOFF, $1 for the light and core subscriptions over at Stokastic. That's what's on the screen behind me. That is our parent company here at OddsShopper, and we cover the fantasy stuff. I'm talking fantasy football there on Sundays in front of thousands of live people. Can't wait to do it again with Matt Kajeski, who you know from the college football streets potentially, and betting you, him, and Ben Raza here on the channel. Well, I'm going to be covering all of the fantasy goodness leading you up to lock on that Sunday. And if you guys want to check out DraftKings, FanDuel for the daily fantasy content, as well as the fantasy optimizers for DraftKings, Underdog, DraftKings Pick 6, that is all can be yours just for $1. $1 for week 1 access down at the link below. Sound great? Yeah, sounds pretty good to me too. So sign up. I'll hopefully see you there on Sunday. Okay, let's start talking some bets, shall we? Because again, that was some pleasantries on the Philadelphia side, and I will get to a lock that we will be covering overall, covering Philadelphia. But I wanted to give you the offensive profile there, because now we're going to jump to the Green Bay offensive side, where I think you've just got a full allotment of weapons. Now, Josh Jacobs brought in to take over the Aaron Jones workload. I don't think he'll be as involved in the passing game, but do you need somebody to be as involved in the passing game? No, you need to have somebody on the field, because the skill position players, the guys that they have around him, Luke Musgrove at the tight end position, specifically these young wide receivers, are unfrickin' believable. We're talking Romeo Doubs. We're talking Mr. Christian Watson, if he can stay healthy with that hamstring injury once in his life, out of North Dakota State. And Jaden Reed, of course, out of Michigan State. Unbelievable talents that they have there. There's one noticeable omission, though, and it was a guy that we saw spike some upside towards the tail end of last season, and I do think on other football teams, he's extremely talented. I'm talking about a guy named Dontavian Wicks. Some of you might know him, some of you might not. If you played fantasy, you definitely saw Dontavian Wicks pop at times throughout the entire playoffs. Obviously, they had the surprise win against the Cowboys, which yours truly called on this show, because I think Green Bay was very undervalued going up against a Mike McCarthy spot. Mike McCarthy in the playoffs. It's as consistent as the rain in Brazil, which is a lot. There's a lot of that. So I guess it's not consistent. Whatever. Let's move ourselves to the play, which is Dontavian Wicks. Longest reception, under 16.5 yards. This is -110 over at DraftKings, but I think there's another play that I've coupled it with that I really like. Under 2.5 receptions is -115 over at Bet365. I don't think we're going to see him on the field much. We didn't see him much in the preseason, and they did a couple of those showcase games for the people in Green Bay. He was a massive, noticeable omission from some of those 3 wide receiver sets. Now, you get 4 of them out there, have fun, but Dontavian Wicks is going to need an injury over the course of these first couple of weeks, which is likely when you're talking about Watson and his profile in the NFL and some of these other pieces. I think it's something that we have to pay very close attention to in the early portions of this window. But Jordan Love, he's one of the best quarterbacks, one of the best young quarterbacks in this National Football League. He's going to get the ball around efficiently, but he's going to get it around efficiently to the guys who are on the field, which I don't think Wicks is going to eclipse even like a 35% snap share here in this game. And that, my friends, make these both advantageous plays. This is advantageous as can be as well. We're talking OddsShopper and Bet365. Bet365, one of the most reputable sports books in all of the land, and not just our land, but internationally. Bet365 is absolutely gigantic. You have New Jersey, Colorado, Ohio, Virginia, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, Indiana, Arizona, North Carolina, and now Pennsylvania. All of you can use this Bet5, get $200 in bonus bets. It's only if you're 21 and over. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. But yes, you can sign up for that. Bet5, get $200 immediately at Bet365. And we're going to round out this program with my favorite play, and it's it's not even square. I mean, this opened at 4.5, and we've had these lines out for months and months and months. And it's weird to me that the play that I'm projecting out the best in my modeling, which again, I'm doing a lot more for props than I am for totals and spreads, because, well, totals and spreads end up very efficient this week 1. But I don't agree with this at all. Philadelphia only laying 1.5 now. Now, there is inflated juice on this specific number, -120 at BetMGM. The 2 is at -110 at Caesars, and I'm just fine with either. I hit this at 2 because I didn't want it to move, and sure enough, it went another half point. So I think it's an advantageous spot to be going towards for the offensive coordinator position. In a long time, especially in we're talking about Saquon Barkley, who back play or a competent offensive and now he's stepping into the and that creates an awesome opportunity for Philly's offense to far outsurpass the league's expectations. Now, I looked in the marketplace. I thought I'd go on maybe some team totals because I do think this game, I'd be leaning towards the over as it stands right now as well. But just laying 1.5, 2 points here on the Philly side, give me that all day. If this gets up to 3.5, I'm not going to say it's an absolute middle, but there will be live betting opportunities with these tickets, I think, where we can snag some points potentially with Green Bay if I think Philadelphia's offense can be as efficient as possible. I am obviously scared of how good Green Bay is on the defensive side. They have improved secondary with McKinney and some of the other pieces. Jair Alexander going to be healthy this year, I think. And I don't know. I still grade Philadelphia as the much, much better football team on a neutral field. So it seems square to me. It seems like the square side, but apparently it's not. Green Bay is taking that public money like they always do. One of the most publicly backed teams that we see year in, year out. And that, I think, creates value. Philadelphia inside of a field goal. And that does it for another edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks in the NFL streets. Head to the comment section below. Let me hear your favorite plays from this game. I think there's a lot of props that are intriguing. I'm going to try to jump on some numbers, see what the public kind of does with these numbers overnight. I'm going to be posting those in the marketplace. So I repeat, if you guys want to get my plays for the NFL and also the MLB, the only spot it's going to be getting my MLB plays for the next couple of weeks, that is in the marketplace. Promo code Lindy50. That'll get you your first week half off, your first month half off, whichever you prefer. Daily Picks, Premium Discord, come hang out. The water is warm. Would love to see you there. We can talk about anything you want, and obviously we will be accumulating a lot of stats covering some of these teams, lots of new faces, and sound rank kind of matters. But anywho, lots to be getting to. Until next time, friends, week 1, I will have a massive video out for you on Friday night covering everything for Sunday's main slate and Sunday Night Football, and then Monday Night Football. Can't wait to see you there. Until then, I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the NFL streets on Friday. What in the world?